and a very warm welcome to a bright but breezy Duisburg in Germany and the first ICF Canoe Sprint World Cup of 2016, where the world's top athletes will be looking to put a marker down ahead of the Olympic Games in Rio in just 3 months' time. We have a packed programme of racing for you this afternoon, all of them finals, starting with the women's K1, men's C1 and men's K1 1000 metres. That'll be followed by the finals of the men's K2 200 metres and the women's K1 and C1 200. After that, it's the women's K2 500 metres and the men's K2 1000 metre finals, and finally the men's C2 and women's K2 200 metres. So plenty of medals up for grabs this morning, and I'm pleased to say I have alongside me the Great Britain 200 metre athlete Hannah Brown, also a former World Water World Champion. Hannah, what are you most looking forward to seeing out here this afternoon?
I'm really excited to watch the first international finals of the year, really. I think there'll be some mega tight racing in the 1,000 metres, and then the 200 metres is always down to the line, so it's all up for grabs.
Well, the first race we've got out there on course this morning will be the final of the women's K1 1000 metres. We've already seen the B finals come down, so this is promising to be a really, really tight one. What do you make of the conditions out there at the moment, Hannah?
It's a lovely looking tailwind from here, and the sun is shining today, which is awesome for the athletes. It sort of gets rid of that chill of the wind, and hopefully for some fast times.
Yeah, lovely, looking really nice. So there we have the start of the start list for the women's K1 1000 metre A final. Some big names to look out for in this final, especially looking at lane 6. That's editor Zhenichevska-Kerka, who's the fastest qualifier in this race, but at the moment we're looking at Inna Nikitina, the Russian athlete out there in lane 1, 3-time silver medalist in the K4 500 at the Junior World Championships. Alongside her is the Swedish athlete Clara Andersson, part of the Swedish K4 for the last few years. And then alongside her in lane 3, Yves Haas from the Netherlands, 33 years old, and seems to just be getting stronger each year. He's very, very strong endurance paddler. 8th in the 5K at the European Games in Baku last year. And then another very strong athlete in lane 4, another Russian, Svetlana Chernigovskaya. She was the winner of Heat 2, qualifying straight through into this final. Very strong crew boat paddler. And then in lane 5 from Belarus, Daria Bychuskaya, just 22 years old, winner of Heat 1 yesterday. And alongside her, we've already mentioned her, editor Zhenichevska-Kerka from Poland, fastest qualifier with a time of 4 minutes, .096. I really think she'll be one to look out for. So the athlete is just coming forward into the start buckets. And with this being, possibly these athletes' first major international final of the season, what do you think they'll be feeling now?
I guess nerves, but also excitement to sort of put down their best race and the first race of their season to see where they are and they stand against the rest of the world here.
So the first medal of this World Cup up for grabs in just a few moments' time. They're in the blocks and under the starters' orders. And it looks like a great start from lane 7. That's Anna Roxana Lahachi from Austria. She's got out the blocks very well. She's out there in that blue boat. But alongside her, it is editor Zhenichevska-Kerka of Poland who's starting to stroke out a lead. And she looks extremely strong, doesn't she?
Pulling out a good boat length already in the first 100 metres. It's impressive.
You can see editor Zhenichevska-Kerka of Poland in lane 6. Sort of increasing her lead, accelerating with every single stroke. You can really see the efficiency of her stroke there, and she has really laid down the gauntlet for the rest of these athletes. If she can keep this up, and I guess it's all about the race plan, isn't it?
Very much. So much pacing involved in having a clear plan and nailing it in the 1,000. She's looking like she's lengthening out now nicely and settling into a rhythm.
You're obviously a 200 metre specialist. They're just coming through the first 250 at around 55 seconds, and she's got clear water over the rest of the field. So you're mainly a 200 metre paddler. Have you ever had a go at the 1,000?
At a domestic level, I've raced it a couple of years back, yes. So I think it's an art and a lot of practice. And obviously, the endurance side of it is a massive part, but I think the planning and the racing of it is huge.
So already a 2-second lead for editor Zhenichevska-Kerka of Poland. as they go through the 750 metre mark. So still 750 to go, so the 250 metre mark. And they're coming up towards the 500 now. And it looks like there's quite a few boats at the moment racing for that second place, for that silver medal. That's definitely Anna Roxana Lahatchi still in contention, but dropped back a little bit. Out in lane 5 in the white boat, you can see there, that's the Belarusian athlete Daria Bychuskaya. But still, Janiszewska-Kerka looking extremely strong as they come through the 500 metre mark. And just a lovely slow stroke rate, steady stroke rate, looking very controlled. Be interesting to see whether she's got a change of gear when they come over down into the last sort of 200 metres. But at the moment, it's Daria Bychuskaya of Belarus that's sitting in second, and alongside her is the Russian athlete Svetlana Chernigovskaya in the red boat, out in lane 4, who's currently sitting in third. But still Anna Roxana Lahatchi of Austria very much in contention, as is Clara Andersson of Sweden, who's looking strong. And it's been a tough week for Anna Roxana Lahatchi. Missed out on Olympic qualification in the K2 earlier this week, just getting picked on the line by the Swedish crew. So she'll be really keen to make amends and put down a good performance in this K1, don't you think, Hannah?
Yeah, I'm sure she's out to fight for those medals and sort of paddle her heart out, I'm sure.
So right, they're coming now down towards the last 200 metres in the final of this women's K1 1,000 metres, and it's still Poland's Edyta Janiszewska-Kerka who's just giving them a lesson in how to paddle a 1,000 metre race. Such a strong athlete, and already more than 3 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. It's going to be interesting to see what the rest of the girls have in the tank, see if they can close down that gap and see who's going to fight for those medals. And at the moment it does look like the Russian, that's Svetlana Chernigovskaya, out in lane 4, who started to lift her game. So is Anna Roxana Lahatchi in lane 7. We saw Anna Roxana have a fantastic start. Can she do the same in the finish? But as they come towards the last 50 metres of this race, there's absolutely no doubt about who's dominated it, and it looks like she's still got plenty in the tank. No change of gear at all, just cruises across the line. It will be gold for Edyta Janiszewska-Kerka of Poland. Silver looks like it will go to Svetlana Chernigovskaya of Russia, and it will be Anna Roxana Lahatchi who takes the bronze. And what a performance! That's just a fantastic sort of lesson in just how to, from start to finish, how to execute that race plan.
Completely dominating the race there, she did. But the fight for silver, bronze and fourth was really close as well. Came down to the last 50 metres, and who held on?
So Janiszewska-Kerka already got a few World Cup medals under her belt in K1000 already, and a European bronze back in 2011, but really looks like she's on top of her game this year. There you go, winning by 2 seconds, and I reckon she had more in the tank as well. 3:55.087 the winning time for Poland's Edyta Janiszewska-Kerka. Almost 3 seconds behind was Svetlana Chernigovskaya of Russia, and Roxana Lahatchi of Austria taking third. And I'll see if I can bring you some more results and that very shortly. But the next race on course will be the final of the men's C1 1,000 metres. And this one's looking like it could be a very, very close race indeed. Some big names in this one. Out in lane 5, we've got Sebastian Brendel. This Sebastian Brendel is going to be the man to beat, isn't he?
He really is. I think I saw a fact that he's undefeated here for years on end. So the guy in lane 4, I'm sure, is out here to prove a point from Brazil.
Yeah, that paddler in lane 4, Zacchias Quiros dos Santos, gold medalist in the C2000 at the Worlds last year. But at the moment we're looking at Pavlo Autohov of Ukraine, out in lane 3, just 20 years old. That's Zacchias Quiros dos Santos that we just mentioned in lane 4. Qualified for their home Olympics already in the C2000. And that's another German, Ronald Wirch. We've got 2 Germans, 2 Polish, 2 Moldovans in this race. So it's quite likely that some of those athletes will be racing for their Olympic selection. But there's the man himself, Sebastian Brendel, undefeated over 1,000 metres since 2013. Sergei Tarnowski of Moldova in lane 6, just 18 years old, the reigning junior world champion, lining up alongside the reigning senior world champion. That's Thomas Kaczor of Poland in lane 7, and alongside him is Vincent Slaminski, also of Poland. So those two Polish athletes going head to head will be eyeballing each other going all the way down the race, I can imagine. And finally it's Sergei Tarnowski's brother Oleg Tarnowski, also paddling for Moldova, silver medalist in the C1 500 at the World Championships last year. And they're in the buckets and under starters orders. And they're underway, and it's a big start from the athlete in lane 5. That is Sebastian Brendel, the man they're all eyeballing, the one they all want to beat. Fastest qualifier in a time of 3:56.839. And it looks like Sergei Tarnowski, that 18-year-old, is going stroke for stroke with him and just taking the lead. And that's a fantastic battle to see youth against the age and experience.
Yeah, massively. I'm sure he's sticking to his race plan, but at the same time, taking every opportunity he can, the young Polish.
I can imagine that it's very tempting to, if you've got a world champion alongside you, try and match that. How difficult is it to stick with your own race plan when you're also trying to race?
It's so tricky over the 1,000 because the pacing is huge, but it's all about that tunnel vision and just looking at your lane and looking ahead at all times.
So it's still very, very close after the first 250 metres. Very difficult to separate them all, but at the moment, just nosing into the lead is that Brazilian athlete out in lane 4 in the blue C1, Zequias Queiroz dos Santos. He won silver at the World Cup here last year, but he did take gold in the C1 500. He's looking extremely strong, and as is that German Ronald Wirtsch. You can see Sebastian Brendel just dropping back, and I guess that's a sign of the experience that, he knows what his race plan is.
He's sticking to his plan, not getting carried away, but the German and the Brazilian are nose for nose, a boat length in front now. Still looking lovely and long.
So it's great to see the Brazilians really stepping up, especially in seaboat paddling. And as I mentioned, Queiroz dos Santos has qualified for his home Olympics in the C2000. That's when they won gold last year. So he'll be really keen to put down a marker in the C1 as well. But it's Sergei Tarnowski, the youngster, who's powering ahead. We've already mentioned he won gold at the Junior World Championships last year, but also took bronze at the Senior Worlds. And there we have Ronald Wirtsch apparently in the lead at the moment, just ahead of Sergei Tarnowski. And Sebastian Brendel is just keeping himself in contention.
I think they're starting to make their moves now.
You can see the power. So how do you know when the best time is right for you to start upping that power, to start putting on your sprint finish?
Practice and practice at home. You know your race plan, you know how much you've got left in the tank and when to go. But at the same time, using your competitors around you, you need to use that adrenaline that you'll be getting right now. They're coming into the 200 metres to go.
So could we be about to see Sebastian Brendel's first defeat over 1,000 metres for about 3 years? We're coming through the 200 metres now. It's Brazil in first, ahead of Moldova in second, Germany in third. Who is going to take these medals? Sebastian Brendel is coming back. Always got confidence in a paddler like him. Just such a classy athlete. He's coming up alongside Tarnowski and Queiroz dos Santos. This is going to be a huge battle for gold, silver and bronze. We're not discounting Ronald Wirtsch of Germany out in lane 2 or Ukraine's Altahov in lane 3 either. But, oh my goodness, Zequias Queiroz dos Santos has stopped and fallen in. And it's now just a 2-horse race for the gold medal, but it will be, at the moment, it looks like Sebastian Brendel, who's just ahead by almost a boat length now. Sebastian Brendel will take the gold. He remains undefeated. Moldova's Sergei Tarnowski will take silver here in Duisburg. And it'll be Ukraine's Pavlo Altahov.
A storming finish to come through and take bronze there.
Who comes through to take bronze with perhaps a slight bit of luck on his side, with Zequias Queiroz dos Santos pulling up, stopping. He seems to stop before he fell in.
Yeah.
Did it look like he caught some water badly on his blade, or was it difficult to see?
It's hard to tell from this angle, but hopefully he's not struggling there as well. It's not in some sort of need for help.
So as we look at Sebastian Brendel there, claiming his gold medal, coming over the line in this men's C1 1,000 metres, finishing in a time of 3:43.422. Sergei Tarnovsky 1 second behind, and Ukraine's Pavlo Altahov in third, and Ronald Virch of Germany taking fourth. We're just watching the Brazilian athlete getting picked up by the rescue crew, and hopefully he's going to be okay. But next up on course, we have the final of the men's K1 1,000 metres. And a really exciting lineup spearheading out those central lanes. In lane 3, the reigning world champion in both K1 1000 and K1 500, René Poulsen from Denmark. Such a consistent athlete last year. It'll be really exciting to see whether he's managed to keep it going in this Olympic year. He won bronze here last year. He's heading to his third Olympic Games in Rio. Alongside him in lane 4, that's Dejan Pajic of Serbia, European bronze medalist in the K1 500. Then the reigning European champion, Max Hoff of Germany in lane 5. He won gold at the European Games in Baku last year and gold here in Duisburg at the World Cup. Ale Urenia there of Belarus in lane 6. He's the fastest qualifier. Won his semi-final at a time of 3:32.517. So he's laid down the gauntlet for the rest of these athletes. Josef Dostal of the Czech Republic in lane 8. Saluting the camera there. World silver medalist and won silver here last year as well. And then inside him, Fernando Pimenta, bronze at the World Championships and the Europeans last year, silver at the European Games. So a really, really exciting lineup as these paddlers start to make their way towards the start line. That was Arthur Peters of Belgium in lane 1, just 19 years old. And in lane 2, it's Miroslav Kirchev of Bulgaria. So that is a lineup and a half, isn't it, Hannah Brown? Which stands out for you? If you were going to put your money, where would you put it?
The first race of the season is always one that, you don't know how they've had their winters, but their winter training is gone. But, I mean, there's jam-packed right in the middle, but also the outside lanes. I wouldn't rule out Arthur Peters. He was so close to qualifying at the second round earlier this week, and Joseph Dostal is always one to watch at the end, especially on an outside lane. I remember Moscow a couple of years ago, he won from lane 9 or lane 1 and just stormed it down the outside, sort of out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. It was impressive, but it'll be a tough race off between Max Hoff on his home ground and René Holten Poulsen, I reckon.
Yeah, okay. Hannah Brown saying René Holten Poulsen. She's put her money down. So it's been a very good start from that boat out in lane 1. That's Arthur Peters of Belgium that Hannah was just talking about. He's just nosed himself into the lead. A fantastic burst out of the blocks from him. Junior world champion back in 2014. And unfortunately, just missed out on Olympic qualification earlier this week. Finished 6th, but also just missed out of the World Championships last year. So, putting the pressure on him now, it's René Poulsen of Denmark, who's in that boat in lane 3, the little yellow nose. And alongside him as well, going well, is Serbia's Dejan Pajic, who just takes the lead now. As they go through the 750, it's those 3 athletes who are going very well indeed, as is Fernando Pimenta of Portugal. So Pajic there in the lead of just 0.05 of a second over René Poulsen. And Arthur Peters down there in 3rd, still very much in contention for those medals, with Fernando Pimenta about a second or so off the pace. Max Hoff very much in control, but I think Hoff, a bit like Sebastian Brendel we saw in the C1 earlier, Hannah, he's probably got some tricks up his sleeve.
A German racing style, saving for a big finish, but yeah. He's looking comfortable back there in about 5th or 6th place, but I wouldn't rule him out yet.
So Pajic at the moment just keeping his stroke rate fairly high as they come through the 500 metres in comparison to René Poulsen of Denmark, who looks bit more in control in lane 3, wouldn't you say?
Lane 3 and lane 1, they're looking relaxed and long. Lane 4 definitely got a couple more strokes per minute than Rennie at the moment, but
so it's all going to be about who can stay in control as they come over this last 500 metres. It looks like Rennie Paulsen is just clawing back those inches very, very gradually. So now 0.3 of a second between them going through the 500 metres. I think Rennie Paulsen has now taken the lead though. Can Arthur Peters, the 19-year-old out in lane 1, hang on to take a medal in this first World Cup of the season? He'll be looking to put down a performance after the disappointment of missing out on Olympic qualification earlier this year. They're coming through the 250 now, and what a switch by Rennie Paulsen. Just turns on the power, and you can see him pull away from the field with every stroke. This is classy from Rennie Paulsen. We saw some fantastic performances from him last year. We mentioned how consistent he was. Has he just taken this to another level? And here is Max Hoff. We said, could he do it? And at the moment he is. But Max Hoff putting himself into second, but also Josef Dostal of the Czech Republic in the yellow boat on this inside lane. Can't quite see him on your pictures at the moment, but he's going great runs as well. Arthur Peters has got a second gear. Arthur Peters has got another gear out in lane 1. Who are going to take these medals? Rennie Paulsen is just getting clawed back by these athletes. Can Rennie Paulsen hold on to take the gold medal? It does look like it will be Rennie Paulsen of Denmark who takes the gold. And I think, I may be wrong, but I think that was Arthur Peters of Belgium to take silver and Max Hoff of Germany in bronze. That is going to go down to the officials. What a race,
yeah. That was impressive from Arthur Peters in lane 1 to hold on right at the end. The storming German in the middle, coming down the middle lane, but I think he got it at the end.
And I think that was an exciting performance from Rennie Paulsen to start the year, to start an Olympic year.
Dominating performance by Rennie there, yeah. Clear water for most of the race. At the end, it was, yeah, mega.
The exciting thing about Arthur Peters, I think, is watching that kind of performance. You think he's a youngster. Does he know his race plan? Is he confident that he can, keep this up for the whole 1,000? And he absolutely did. Yeah. And he at least matched Max Hoff. And we'll have to see how that turns out in a moment's time. But fantastic from Rennie Paulsen, just to be so calm and collected, and then coming over the last 200, switched on the power, and you could see with every stroke just pulling away almost with ease.
Yeah, technically awesome paddler, and obviously dominated last year at the Worlds and has carried on that form. It'll be an exciting season for him. I'm sure he's got his eyes set on Rio, and after a paddle like that, he will take a lot of confidence from that.
So we're waiting a little bit to see the final results, and that could be because the officials are just checking everything. But Arthur Peters has been given second place. Rennie Paulsen 3:26.820, the winning time in this men's K1 1,000-metre A final. Fantastic result, fantastic performance from Arthur Peters to come second. Not quite enough in the tank for Max Hoff to catch or beat Paulsen or Peters, but he will take the bronze medal, and Josef Dostal of the Czech Republic just missing out. He had a fantastic finish, but not quite enough for him. And such a shame that a talent like Arthur Peters perhaps we won't be seeing at the Olympic Games.
No, but I think he can take so much away from that, and he's had a hard week the racing. He's racing at second round, straight back into the World Cup, and actually he's getting stronger each race, and I'm sure he'll be a name to watch for many, many years to come.
So we had the second round, the European round of Olympic qualification earlier this week, and many athletes who competed in that have decided to go home, take a rest ahead of the next World Cup in the Czech Republic next week. But the Belgians, the Austrians as well, have decided to stay on and keep competing, and just great race practice for all of them. So the next race on course will be the final of the men's K2 200 metres. That will be in a few moments' time. Some really exciting crews to look out for in that one. That one seems to be the one that can go either way. The world title has changed hands a number of times over the last few years, so very interesting to see. We're going to have some medal presentations coming up first, but some names that stand out for you there? I mean, how Liam Heath and Jonathan Schofield, how is their, from Great Britain, the British pair, how has their training season gone this year? How are they looking?
I think they're looking formidable. I know they've both had an excellent winter's training. I think they've learned from the past years. They've had a fantastic 4-year cycle, I think, coming into it, and they're the strongest place they've been so far. And actually looking at the times we've just had down those races, we're going to have some super fast times on the 200s. Could be, you know, some of the fastest times you've ever seen. Of course, is running really well. It'll be exciting to see, because it is their first international so far this year. I think they had a comfortable heat and a really solid semi-final, so it'll be exciting to see how they put it down.
And it seems like Liam Heath in particular is going very well in his K1 as well.
He is, yes, and he'll be racing that later on today in the heats and semi-finals in the K1, so it'll be really interesting to see how he's faring in that. But yes, he did really well to trump Ed McKeever at home at the domestic selections a month ago, and I think he's getting stronger and stronger. It'll be exciting.
And this week for Great Britain as a squad in general, it's been kind of mixed, would you say?
It has been up and down, I think. There's obviously some disappointment from some of our athletes that just missed out on Olympic qualifiers during Wednesday and Thursday, and I know how hard they've worked at home and how close and how, you know, it comes down to the wire at the end of the day in one race in this year. But there's some really exciting results so far this regatta. Our C1 woman has made the A final for the first senior competition, which is really impressive. Katie Reed. And of course, Johnny and Liam looking super strong. So
yeah, very, very exciting indeed. And so we've got, just coming up now is the medal ceremony for the women's K1 1000 meters. So that was won by Edyta Janiszewska-Kerka of Poland. But we're actually not too far away from the start of the men's K2 200 metres, just 5 minutes away from the start of that one. And as well as Liam Heath and Jonathan Schofield in this men's K2 200, they'll be in lane 5, spearheading it out. Alongside them in lane 6 is the fastest qualifiers from France, Sébastien Jouve and Maxime Beaumont. They qualified with a time of 31.912. I've got a feeling we're going to have some faster times here today. The world's best time in the men's K2 200 metres is 30.500 seconds. That's held by Nebojša Grujić and Marko Novakovic of Serbia. They got that time at the World Championships in Moscow 2 years ago.
I reckon we could be really close to that time, if not under it. Bearing in mind the 1,000 metre men just did a 3:26. That must be pretty close to the world record, I imagine.
So, as Hannah was saying, a 3:26 in that men's 1,000 metre final. Max Hoff has the world's best time of 3:22, so just over that distance, just 4 seconds down on the world's best time. So just looking at that starting lineup now in the men's K2 200 metres. We've already spoken about Liam Heath and Johnny Schofield. Sébastien Jouve and Maxime Beaumont have got to be the ones to look out for. Jouve is a 2-time world champion in this event. That's in 2010 and 2011 with Arnaud Ibois. They won bronze together. This pair won bronze together in 2014. And Maxime won silver in the K1 200 at Worlds last year and came fourth at London 2012 as well. So a really, really exciting pairing of those two 200 metre specialists. Also out there on course, I think, is going to be ones to watch this afternoon, the Spanish crew, Saul Cravioto and Christian Toro. They won the European qualifiers by almost 1 second to secure a place at the Olympic Games. So Hannah, over 200 metres, in an event where you know that any kind of mistake, there's no room for error at all, how do you get in a place where you can execute hopefully, fingers crossed, a perfect race.
You've got to completely focus on yourself, and it's actually, you're so close to the grandstand here that it's easy to get distracted by the spectators and the big screens. So you've got to head down into your lane and be looking purely at what you need to do. Look at your bucket and know that you've got to react as fast as possible right at the beginning of that race. Because a split second at the beginning of the races, you won't find it by the end. So it's all to play for.
So there's Liam Heath and Johnny Schofield from Great Britain out in lane 5. Olympic bronze medalists and world silver medalists in 2013. They finished 5th last year. Really looking to up their game ahead of the Olympic Games this summer. That's the Lithuanian pair out in lane 7 of Orimas Lankas and Edvinas Ramanoskas, European bronze medalists. The Italians in lane 8, Michele Bertolini and Riccardo Ciccini. And in lane 9, Ronald Rauer and Tom Liebscher of Germany. Ronnie, a 4-time world champion in the K1 200 metres. They were the European champions in 2014 and 2015. And as they come into the blocks, I can tell you that the previous world's best time in the men's C1 1,000 metres was 3:44, set by Sebastian Brendel. And today, Sebastian Brendel has done a 3:43.422, so it looks like a brand new world's best time. First race of the season, and he's gone out and absolutely smashed it.
That's an amazing start for the 2016 year. He's going to be.
And Sergei Tarnovsky of Moldova went under it as well, but the men's K2 200 metres are out of the blocks and they're underway out on course. This is the A final, the medals are up for grabs, and this could go any way at the moment. At the moment, I cannot tell you who's in the lead. It looks like the Germans on this near side in lane 9.
The Spanish are pulling
Rauer
away.
and Liebscher are looking good, but it is the Spanish crew out in lane 4, Craviotto and Toro, who are pulling away in the lead. Lane 6 looking strong as well. That's the French crew. And it's definitely Spain who have taken first place in that race.
Those two are obviously on form after dominating the Olympic qualifier a couple of days ago. They have peaked well for this event and still carrying that speed through.
And when Hannah says dominate, that's probably an understatement. You know how we saw a moment ago René Paulsen pull away from the field over 1,000 metres.
Yeah.
We saw this crew over 200 metres pull away from the rest of the field with every stroke. And you can see there now, they're just so powerful.
About 25 metres to go, they just carried on accelerating. It's mighty impressive. They're so in tune with each other and the boat is running so smoothly, letting them put all that power straight in the water.
You can see that huge wash coming off the back of that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So Saul Craviotto and Christian Toro of Spain follow up their win at the European Olympic qualifiers earlier this week with a win and a gold medal at the World Cup here in Duisburg.
I couldn't separate the other teams though, actually, for the rest of the positions.
Yeah,
and they were all looking at the board. None of them know.
We're definitely going to have to keep up. So silver has been given at the moment to Hungary, with Serbia in 3rd, France in 4th, Germany 5th, Hungary 6th, and Great Britain in 7th. But we're separating those first 3 boats, well, 2nd to 4th, by 1/10 of a second, less than that. So
the Spanish crew almost had half a second on everyone. That's so impressive.
Yeah, nearly half a second ahead. And the crews racing here are the best in the world. They'll be coming up against these crews at the Olympic Games. So they really put down the gauntlet there. So Hungary's reigning world champions were put down to 2nd there, and Serbia taking 3rd. So the next race on course will be the final of the women's K1 200 metres. Hannah, this is your event. Who would you have your eye on in this race?
Well, I'm sure everyone will be putting their money on lane 3, Lisa Carrington. She looked strong in the semi-finals, qualifying fastest, and she's obviously sort of undefeated in this event for so long. But there are some big names here and actually some incredibly fast competition at this regatta. The B and C finals we had earlier were jam-packed with big names, and actually I reckon it'll be a really, really close race between all 9 of these athletes. It'll be an exciting race to watch.
So lane 6 there, we have Anastasia Todorova of Ukraine, bronze medalist at the European Games in the K2 200 last year. Alongside her in lane 5, Inna Osipenko-Radomska of Azerbaijan, used to race for Ukraine until last year, 4th at the Worlds last year. And then in lane 4, I think this is one to watch, Sarah Guyot from France, the reigning European champion, former under-23 world champion in K1 500. And there's a woman that has got a target on her back, I would say, Lisa Carrington from New Zealand. Undefeated over 200 metres since 2012. And there's a legend of paddling out there in lane 2 from Hungary, Natasha Duševjanek, a 3-time world champion and 2-time European champion in this event. And alongside her, her nemesis, as those two race off for the Olympic place, is Dora Lux, also of Hungary.
It was really close between those two in the semi-final, so I reckon they'll be gunning it out, and in lanes next to each other as well. It'll be really exciting for those two.
So Natasha Duševjanek and Dora Lux of Hungary will have their own private battle as they race it off for a place at the Olympic Games. They're in the buckets, they're under the starters' orders. Definite pink theme going on. Being held quite a long time, but they're about to get underway. And they're out of the blocks. It looks like a good start for Anastasia Todorova of Ukraine out in lane 6. That's Wojciechowicz of Poland powering away. It does look like Wojciechowicz, who has got away really, really quickly. Looking very, very strong. It is Wojciechowicz, also Todorova in lane 6 in the pink boat. This is going to go down to the wire as well. Just starting to nose into the lead is Inna Osipenko-Radomska of Azerbaijan in that black boat. But here comes Lisa Carrington. She left it later than we expected, but at the moment there's no doubt who has that lead. It's Lisa Carrington from New Zealand in the black and white boat out in lane 3. And it will be Lisa Carrington who takes gold. It'll be Inna Osipenko-Radomska of Azerbaijan who takes the silver. And I think Marta Wojciechowicz of Poland with the bronze. But for a moment there, wow, I thought Lisa Carrington was going to have that undefeated label taken away from her.
That is probably one of the closest races we've seen over 200. Previously, Lisa has seriously dominated it, so Marta and Osipenko really, really stepping up their games this year, I reckon. Actually, the rest of the final was almost within a line.
So close, so close,
all the way through.
But I think that shows class that, you know, if you drop back by a couple of foot out of the start buckets, you can still turn it on and come back.
She knew that was close, and look on her face.
Do you have any idea what it is about Lisa Carrington that makes her such a good athlete, such a consistent athlete over an event, which is so easy if you make one mistake to lose your title?
I don't know what her secret is, no, but I think her consistency is massive. I'm sure she's got an amazing setup at home in New Zealand and tackles her training with that same mindset.
So 38.880 the winning time for Lisa Carrington of New Zealand. And Hannah Brown put her money on it. Great Britain and 200 metre athlete sitting alongside me, and that's the way it went as well. In Osipenko-Radomska about half a second behind. And
6 athletes under 40
Wojciechowicz
seconds. Very, very quick.
Poland in third. And in that private battle that we mentioned earlier between Dora Lux of Hungary and Natasha Duševjanek also of Hungary, Dora Lux, the youngster, took it by about 1/10 of a second. So it looks like she's put herself in a great position to be going to the Olympic Games. Well, the next race will be the final of the women's C1 200 metres. And you can see in lane 5 there, that's Alessia Romanesco of Russia. She was the fastest qualifier, 47.017. She won Heat 1 by a second. So it's going to be interesting to see whether this is as close as the race we've just seen. And obviously the level of women's C1 paddling really starting to lift now ahead of the proposed changes that will hopefully, will possibly bring in women's C1 into Tokyo in 2020. Katie Vincent in lane 3, junior world champion in 2014, 20 years old. That's Elena Nazdrova of Belarus in lane 7. Johanna Handrick from Germany out in lane 1, a really versatile paddler, finishing 5th at the Marathon World Championships last year. And here's one to watch out for, Kintur Takac of Hungary, under 23 world champion in C1 200 and C1 500. There's Katie Reid from Great Britain. She's come so far since this time last year. She finished 6th at the under-23 Europeans, 10th at the under-23 Worlds, and now lining up here in this A final at a Senior World Cup in the C1 200 metre final. And that's Lyudmila Luzan of Ukraine in lane 9. Junior world champion in the C1 500. So we've got some champions across the board really as they come forward into the start buckets. So over 200 metres, the men's and the women's K1s have been about a second off the world's best time, a second behind it. So they're out of the blocks in this final of the women's C1 200 metres.
Again, it's so close.
Very, very tight over the first 50 metres as they come towards the last 100. Looking very powerful at the moment. I think that's out in lane 3. That looks like Katie Vincent. She didn't make it through straight through from the heat switch, was a surprise. But Katie Reid from Great Britain on the outside of her looking really good. At the moment it's between Katie Vincent of Canada and Alessia Romanesco of Russia, who is stroking it out in the front. Katie Reid is looking like she could be in contention for a bronze if she stays there.
Yes.
And it will be Katie Vincent of Canada who takes first, ahead of Alessia Romanesco of Russia in second. And I think Katie Reid has just taken her first international medal for Great Britain in the C1 200 metres with the bronze. And a great race by Katie Vincent.
Great race by all these girls. It was so close. Really getting a competitive class now. But awesome for Katie Reid. She's really stepped up.
And Katie and Alessia Romanesco, the Russian athlete in lane 5, they were definitely within sight of each other. Do you sometimes get distracted by another athlete in the corner of your eye?
I think your peripheral vision can play havoc with you, and you need to, again, just focus on that finish line, because you need to get there before you can worry about what everyone else has done or doing. But yeah, I'm sure they were fully aware of each other. And just neck and neck all the way to the line, aren't they? And
just looking at how, like you say, neck and neck, how close that racing is. How impressed have you been with the rise in the level of women's seaboat paddling?
Every international we've gone to, firstly the numbers increased massively, and actually the standard is definitely there, and can't walk away and say that wasn't a competitive race. That was incredible by all the girls in that final, fighting it all the way to the line.
And most of them pretty young as well. I mean, Katie Vincent just won that, is 20 years old. Katie Reid, my maths isn't that good, but I think she's 21 as well. So there you have it. Katie Vincent of Canada in first place, 46.205 the winning time. And that, by the looks of things, is a new world's best time. Laurence Vincent Lepointe, also of Canada, did a 46.419 in Moscow in 2014. And Katie Reid's winning time in this women's C1 Katie Vincent's, thank you very much, Hannah, good job you're here. Katie Vincent's winning time was a 46.205, so new world's best time. Alessia Romanesco of Russia in second, Katie Reed of Great Britain in third. And it was Makachanka of Belarus in fourth, Irina Andreeva of Russia in fifth, Elena Nazdrova of Belarus in sixth, Kincha Takash of Hungary in seventh, Johanna Handrik of Germany in eighth, and Lyudmila Luzan of Ukraine in ninth place. So a couple of world's best times falling already. It doesn't happen that often. There were loads that fell in Moscow 2 years ago. So really exciting to see that.
It's often down to the temperature of the water, which I don't think is overly warm here. Moscow a couple of years ago, it was sort of 20 plus degrees, so that just lends itself to fast times. But here the tailwind is picking up and it's just right. But it's obviously the quality of the athletes here as well. They're here, they're going so fast. That's why these times are falling.
And speaking of new world's best times, we're just about to have the medal ceremony of the men's C1 1000 metres. So this was won by Sebastian Brendel of Germany in 3:43.422. And this was another very, very good race, wasn't it? And a very close one.
It was, and it was an illustration of a racing legend. Like he held back during the first half of the race. He didn't get carried away by the boats out in front, but he knew what he needed to do and stormed at the end to take the win. And well, the world's fastest time. He obviously wasn't holding back that much at the beginning. It's just his pacing was spot on.
So the medals for the men's C1 1000 metres will be presented by ICF First Vice President Istvan Vaskuti and also the team leader of Germany. And there you have it, the bronze medalist, Pavlo Altahov of Ukraine. Just coming through there at the finish because Ezequias Queiroz dos Santos, who had led for most of the race, the Brazilian athlete, falling in with perhaps 50 metres to go.
Yeah, just in the red boys, wasn't he?
Just 20 years old, Pavlo Altahov. Silver at the Under-23 World Championships last year, fourth at Senior Worlds, and again managing to perform at a senior level. And another youngster as well, 18 years old, Sergei Tarnovsky, taking the silver medal. The reigning junior world champion.
It's so good to see the youngsters stepping up onto the senior platform and winning medals, especially in an Olympic year. is amazing for the sport.
Are you seeing that? I mean, you're sort of K1 200 metre paddler mainly. Are you seeing that in K1 as well with the women?
Yeah, there are a couple of youngsters that have definitely progressed well, and I think when you follow people through in your under-23 career, you recognise certain names, and yeah, there are definitely new names this year in that K1 200 final that have stepped up.
But there you have it. It was experience that won the day after all. Sebastian Brendel of Germany adding yet another gold to his collection with a fabulous performance. Reigning world, Olympic, European and European Games champion, and remains undefeated over the 1,000 metre distance since 2013. And for those athletes to be able to, race alongside such experience, legends of the sport, really, it's a great experience for them. But to be honest, they're so used to it now. They've been performing at this level for a couple of years that perhaps they don't even
legends
notice
themselves. Yeah. I'm sure at a different level, yeah. And there are so few racing opportunities for sprint athletes this year, like throughout the years. So actually, it is a rarity to line up against those big names and put down a marker and see where you are. And obviously they've come here and performed so well, and super excited for this year, heading towards the Rio Olympic Games.
So the next race will be the final of the women's K2 500 metres. Had some really, really exciting heats and semi-finals earlier. We've got the reigning Olympic champions in this race, the reigning European champions in this race, the reigning under-23 world champions, all lining up alongside each other out in the middle of the course. It's going to be extremely exciting. But for you, Hannah, we've sort of spoken a little bit about Great Britain at this World Cup and the Olympic qualifiers and the Para-Canoe World Championships. But for you, how's your winter gone? It's been quite a tough one for you, isn't it?
It hasn't been ideal for me. I had a bit of an accident and bust my knee over Christmas, and sort of struggled since. Sort of got back in the boat and rushed it. So not ideal preparations, and my performances on the water sort of illustrate that. But we learn each year, each season. We've got a new head coach in Great Britain with Alex Nikoronowski, and actually it's exciting at home. As you say, we've had some amazing performances. Our Para-Canoe, we've got up-and-coming names, Katie Reed, Thomas Lusty, laying out excellent performances out here. So at home, it's promising and exciting to be part of at the moment. And the youngsters, our junior crew that raced in the C final of the 1,000 metre K2 earlier, of Luke and Magnus.
Just 17, both of them, something like that?
Both of them 17, turning 18. Yeah, it's an amazing experience for them to race here, and actually they don't look out. They're holding their own, and they've got an exciting year ahead, and yeah, it's really promising.
So the women's K2 500 metres final lining up on course now. Well, that's the pair of Franziska Weber and Tina Dietzer of Germany out in lane 4. Possibly one of the ones to beat, the reigning Olympic champions.
But a race off between another German crew could be exciting.
Yes.
On their home ground as well.
And no doubt a lot of support from the home crowd. It's been quite noisy here this weekend, so it's going to be a loud one. I think both of them were automatic qualifiers through from the heats.
Okay.
Possibly. So that's in lane 5, Poland's Karolina Naya and Bita Mikolajczyk. The fastest qualifiers, 1 minute 40.348, winning the heat by a boat length.
An established crew as well, that those two very, very seasoned athletes and have raced extremely well beforehand. As of these two.
Yeah, Serbians, Nikolina Moldovan and Olivera Moldovan, Olympic finalists at London 2012, still racing together 4 years later in this Olympic cycle.
Sisters, I believe.
I believe they are.
Keep it in the family.
And then that's the successful in lane 8. We've just seen the successful Swedish pair, Karin Johansson, Sevilla Paldanius, in lane 9 alongside them from Ukraine, Maria Pov and Svetlana Ahadova.
And I think lane 8 shows that the level that the Olympic qualifiers that were held a couple of days ago were at. I mean, they just pipped the Austrians on the line by, I think, a hundredths of a second, and actually they're here competing in the A final. That's the level that they're at, and the standard it needs to be at to try and qualify for the games is crazy.
Yeah, there were a lot of top crews, top athletes who didn't make it through in the first round of qualification at the World Championships last year. So despite there being quite a few athletes that weren't competing at European rounds, it was a really, really very high level. And we saw in that race in the final of the European qualifier, in the women's K2 500, the Swedish pair come through right at the end to pit the Austrians. So it'll be really interesting to see whether they stick with that race plan.
They were so strong in that last 50 metres.
So they're underway. Germany and Poland looking good out of the blocks. And it is those three crews spearheading it out in the middle. At the moment, it looks like Franziska Weber and Tina Dietzer of Germany who nose into the lead. And at the moment, alongside them,
neck and neck
with the other German crew, Sabrina Herring and Steffi Kriegerstein. And there's going to be a double amount of pressure as they try and beat their teammates, as well as try and claim the medals.
And nice difference in the black and white boat, so you can tell which crew's which. But the young crew looks like they're pulling out.
And it's Franziska Weber and Tina Dietzer just pulling into the lead out in lane 4. But Herring and Kriegerstein are still very much there. Karolina Naya and Bita Mikulajczyk of Poland are currently sitting in third, and the Serbian sisters in fourth at the moment. So they're coming down into the last 150 metres. At the moment it does look like Franziska Weber and Tina Dietzer, and they are starting to pull away now, and the Polish crew of Naya and Mikulajczyk have turned on the power and are stroking their way past Herring and Kriegerstein. Can Herring and Kriegerstein hold on for a medal? And can the Polish crew come through to take gold? It looks like the Germans are going to have just enough to hold on to it for the gold. And it will be Germany's Franziska Weber and Tina Dietzer who take gold in front of the home crowd, ahead of Poland's Karolina Naya and Bita Mikulajczyk. And then bronze goes to Sabrina Herring and Steffi Kriegerstein, also of Germany. And how impressive is it to have that much depth that you can have two crews that come home with medals?
Yeah, it's amazing. The paddling in Germany is so strong at the moment, and German women especially, and the men. But that was a neck and neck race between the two of them, and I'm sure their domestic races have been just as tight.
And I'm sure there's been several more crews that can probably hold their own in it as well.
You can only have two here, and you can imagine they can have more. Wow.
So the reigning Olympic champions looking in fine form ahead of Rio this summer. Weber and Dietzer were the world champions in 2013. Picked up bronze last year. And you can see that means an awful lot to them. Probably a fair bit of relief as well. They managed to hold off their younger counterparts. And a fantastic silver for the Polish crew as well. I'll bring you those times as soon as we possibly can. 1:37.541. That is not a slouching time.
It's very fast.
At all. That is just half a second slower than the world's best time. No. Yeah, well, half a second slower than the world's best time. I'll try and bring you the rest of them. So the next race will be the men's K2 1,000 metre final. But before that, I think we'll be able to bring you the medal presentation for the men's K2 200 metres. And you can see those German girls congratulating each other after a fantastic race. You can just see the experience really paying off. So half a second separating Weber and Dietzer of Germany ahead of Naya and Mikulajczyk of Poland, who took the silver.
Controlled race from start to finish, up at the 250 and just lengthened out that lead. Really impressive. Impressive form for the rest of this year. But a fast racing by all the girls there.
And that pair have obviously been racing together for a long time, Olympic champions together 4 years ago. How important and how much sway do you think it has to spend a lot of time in a crew with in a K2 with your crewmate?
I think the K2 is so much like Marmite in UK. You either love or hate relationships. Some people just can't paddle with other people, and actually the ones that you can paddle with, the boat can run so smoothly and so well. And I think again, time, energy, both mental and physical, making that boat run is where these top crews are coming from. And yeah, you can see the names there that some of these crews have raced, as you say, for years and years and years on end, as we're about to see in the 1,000 K2 men. Some well-established crews that almost paddle the boat as if they are one, and that's what you're looking for, that symmetry, that unity. That's what makes them go so fast.
So third went to Germany as well. It was the Belarusian pair of Nadzieja Liapeszka and Margarita Machneva that took fourth. Fifth were Verona and Lorik of Romania. Sixth went to the Moldovan sisters Nikolina and Olivera of Serbia. Seventh were Sofia Paldanius and Karen Johansson of Sweden. Anna Polawska and Dominika Wlodarczyk of Poland took 8th, and in 9th was Maria Pov and Svetlana Ahadova from Ukraine. So we're just gearing up now for the presentation of the medals for the men's K2 200 metres.
Such a close race between second and 8th there.
It's
Even
probably been
ninth,
the highlight of the day, hasn't it, so
Yeah.
far, I think.
I think it's so exciting when you can't actually separate the boats on the line. Clear winners from the Spanish crew, but so exciting to watch all the way through.
Less than a second, this is in the men's K2 200 metres, less than a second at separating 1st to 8th. And if you look here, there's 0.02 of a second separating 5th down to 7th.
And that can just come from a slightly swift start. You can lose those hundredths, those tenths. And it makes such a difference to your placing at the end of a race, and I think that's what makes a 200-metre racing so exciting. Makes every element of your race vital.
So we know that this weekend you're racing K1 200. Have you done a lot of K2 200 as well? Do you enjoy that?
Yeah, I've got an excellent crew member with Emily Lewis, who's out competing in the K1 500 later on. And we've done a bit of K2 200 and some sessions back home. And yeah, I think it's the most exciting race actually. It's so powerful, so speedy, and you have to nail the start as well as keep together in the last 50 and 100 metres to follow through with that speed. And yeah, it's definitely one of the best events out there from my point of view, for sure.
So the medal ceremony for the men's K2 200 metres is just about to get underway. Before we move on very shortly to the men's K2 1000 metre final. They've just got slightly confused there by the looks of things. Oh, is it joint?
There's a joint silver medal.
Oh wow, that's how close it was.
That was incredible.
Wow, yeah, I did
Can't
miss that.
separate them out.
The timing system goes down to the thousandths of a second, and both the Hungarian and Serbian crews finished with a time of 31.504 seconds. Forgive me there, I was about to take the mickey out of them because they'd gone in the wrong order.
No, we've missed the mark there. But, you couldn't even separate the crews. That's how close that was. And that's last year's world champions and bronze medalists from last year's Worlds.
So there we go, Marko Novakovic and Nebojša Grujic of Serbia, and Petar Molnar and Sandor Togka of Hungary being presented with their silver medals.
I think that's what sport's about, when you literally can't separate.
Yeah.
Can't separate the crews.
So that's the reigning world champions, the Hungarians, with the reigning European Games champions from Serbia. And Hungarian pair Togka and Molnar also took a bronze at the European Games. The Serbians were world champions in 2014, so as you can see, the lead in the K2 200 just changes all the time. The medals can go to anybody, it gets shared out. It's so close.
It is, and they seem to, the top 6, top 7 boats seem to swap around the podium places, and I think it shows you the quality when you can't second guess your competitors. You just need to go out there and do the best you physically can that day.
And there you have the pair who have really stood out, really shone here in Duisburg this week. Saul Cravioto and Christian Toro of Spain, winners of the men's K2 200 metres by half a second, but also winners earlier this week of the European Olympic qualifiers, and they won that by nearly a second.
Again, that shows you the quality that you needed to take to win those last qualification spots.
They have obviously massively stepped up this year. Saul Cravioto also won gold, came first in the K1 in the Olympic qualifiers this week as well. An Olympic silver medalist in this event, and also won K1, as I said, at the Olympic qualifiers. So lining up now and about to get underway is the final of the men's K2 200 metres. And no less quality in this race, but perhaps not quite as close. We'll have to wait and see. You never can tell.
Some of the semi-finals were so close for this fight out for this final, so I think we're on for an excellent race here.
So I think the eyes will probably be on lane 5, I would say. But at the moment we're looking at lane 4, Vitaly Bialko and Roman Pietrushenko of Belarus. Silver at the Europeans and bronze at the European Games last year. So a really consistent pair. And there you have, as I mentioned, lane 5, Max Rentschmidt and Markus Gross of Germany. I think they'll be a big crowd favourite this afternoon in front of a home crowd. Fastest qualifiers in 3:16.537.
Another well-established crew there, aren't they?
Yeah, and the reigning world and European champions. So they'll be the men that everyone's out to beat, I think, this afternoon. So we saw in the C1000 a new world's best time. Be interesting to see how quick this K2000 will be. And they're out the buckets and they're underway and they're powering away. Spain looking strong. That's Campo and Milan. But it is those two crews in the green boats out in lanes 4 and 5 who seem to be pushing each other at the moment. The Belarusians Vitaly Bialko and Roman Pietrushenko nosing by just an inch into the lead ahead of Rentschmidt and Gross of Germany. It's those two that are looking strongest at the moment, but also going well are the Slovakians out here in lane 8 in that white boat. And alongside them the Spanish still after that really fast start. The Spanish always have a fast start. We mentioned earlier how nations seem to have similar race plans. As they come through the first 250, it is the Belarusian pair who just have the lead. So earlier we mentioned the Germans seem to take a controlled first 3/4 of the race and then power through the finish. The Spanish are quite well known for their powerful starts and powerful finishes, but at the moment, I said it might not be close, but look at that.
You couldn't separate them out. All boats still in contention, boat length in contention there.
So we're looking at the moment with a lead for the Portuguese pair, Emmanuel Silva and João Ribeiro. Out in that white boat in lane 2. They weren't the fastest out the blocks by any means, but now have a lead of sort of the length of a cockpit as they come towards the 500-metre mark.
They're looking really relaxed as well, though. You can see the rhythm of the boat, but the control stroke rate, they look fully in control.
Oh, and it's difficult to see at that angle.
so close.
So Ribeiro and Silva, the Portuguese pair, 1:32.61. They're coming through that 500-metre mark, half a second ahead of Pietrushenko and Bialko of Belarus, but they've dropped back now, and it is Rentschmidt and Gross, the German pair, who are pushing up into the silver medal position. The Germans were the silver medalists at the European Games last year, as well as winning the World Championships and the European Championships. But again now, it looks like Bialko and Pietrushenko of Belarus are coming back again. The sort of jostling for position, changing all the time. The Ukrainian pair in lane 6
made a big surge. Yeah.
So they're coming now into the last 150 metres, and the race is absolutely on. At the moment, the race is on between Portugal and Belarus, but still plenty of crews in it. The Germans are coming through. Belarus now in the lead at the moment over Portugal. Germany currently sitting in third place as they come through towards the last 50 metres. The legs are burning, the arms are burning. Serbia are in it as well. Belarus are tiring. Have they got enough to keep it?
Right on the line.
It will be Belarus who take the gold, I believe ahead of Serbia, who came through just at the end to take silver. And it was Portugal who clung on for bronze after leading that race for so long. That was classy. That was classy.
An
and
amazing,
so close.
amazing finish, yes. Wow.
So for that Belarusian pair, Vitaly Bialko and Roman Pietrushenko, silver medalists at the European Championships, bronze at the European Games last year. They've upgraded that to a gold at this World Cup. And just look at that finish. And the Germans, the fastest qualifiers, are snuck out of the medals down in fourth. And that's not what you need. When you're burning after 900 metres of paddling, you don't need to see sort of 3 or 4 other crews pushing you for those medals all around you.
Yeah. But then that's what they train day in, day out for, to have that last 100 metre.
Such a synchronised stroke from that Portuguese pair.
They
Silva
really
and
did
Ribeiro.
look connected, but the Belarusian team, a very established crew, I believe, but so in sync.
And a little lunge at the end
Probably
before they claim it.
Probably was needed. That was so close for a 1,000 metre K2. Wow.
Yeah, I don't blame them for lunging there. I'm never sure how much a lunge in a kayak as opposed to in a canoe makes a difference. Have you ever lunged for the line? I mean, you're a 200 metre paddler.
Yeah,
quite a lot of power
not
involved.
quite. I wouldn't say it's such a big thing in the women's racing so far, but the 200 metre men, there is some definite advantage if they've timed it well.
Unfortunately, I have seen people not time it well, not know exactly when the finish line is, and lose a race.
True.
That they've been leading. So there you go, 3:08.902, the winning time for the men's K2 1,000 metres. 2 seconds off the world's best time, and 0.08 of a second behind with a Serbian pair of Zoric and Tomicevic. And it was Portugal who took the bronze. Germany
just over a tenth, very close, right at the end there.
Yeah, there you have it.
And Portugal came back in 2012 to take silver in the K2000, which I think was a surprise for some, and they look like they're on form this year, ready to
go and take it on again.
Ready on to take the Olympic Games, yeah.
Yeah, so Emmanuel Silva of Portugal was paddling with Fernando Pimenta, who we saw earlier in the K1000. They won silver together at London 2012.
Oh, yeah.
And 0.08 of a second separating Belarus and Serbia, but just a tenth of a second, if that, separating first and third. Germany, Rentschmidt and Gross took fourth. Olenik and Nekrosius took fifth from Lithuania. It was Ukraine that took sixth, Spain in seventh, Slovakia eighth, and France in ninth. But the gold was for Vitaly Bialko and Roman Pietrushenko, who led very nearly from start to finish, but a lot of jostling for position up the front in that men's K1 1,000 metres.
Meine Damen und Herren, die Siegerehrung im K1 der Damen über 200 Meter beginnt.
Ladies and gentlemen, this will be of K1 200 meter.
So we now have the medal ceremony for the women's K1 200 metres.
3 really, really fast women here.
This was such a close race. We saw Inna Osipenko-Radomska of Azerbaijan take it out from the start. She looked like she was going to topple Lisa Carrington of New Zealand from her undefeated mantle. So the medals being presented in this women's K1 200 metres by the Secretary General of the ICF, Simon Tolson, and also the team leader of New Zealand.
To be fair to Lisa, she still came through and stormed them by about half a second, which is a huge, huge margin over these 200 metre racing.
It'd be interesting to know how much confidence you have when you're undefeated but still in such a close race. So they have Marta Wolczykiewicz of Poland, who took bronze. She won gold at the European Games in Baku last year, silver at the World Championships, but picking up bronze here in Duisburg.
Representing Azerbaijan, Inna Osipenko-Radomska.
Amazing to see Inna Osipenko-Radomska of Azerbaijan. Always manages to peak in an Olympic year, always there. She won silver in this event at London 2012, and Rio will be her 5th Olympic Games.
Wow, it's impressive, an impressive career there. And still on top of her game.
Representing New Zealand, Lisa Carrington.
And there you have it. Probably the most consistent athletes in kayak or canoe racing out there at the moment for the last couple of years. Hasn't been beaten over 200 since 2012. Neil Hatton beat her at the National Championships over 500 metres last year, at the end of last year. .880 the winning time in that women's K1 200 metres. So next on course we'll have the final of the men's C2 200 metres. And Hannah, we were talking about your own 200 metre racing. You were mentioning that Alex Nakonarov has come and helped out. He's Johnny Schofield and Liam Heath's coach. He's Ed McKeever's coach as well. Does that mean that the women's team are also now under his tutelage? And what sort of impact has he made? Yeah,
he's brought in a sort of uniform training program for not only the women's program but the 1,000 metre men as well, and sort of standardising the training in Britain. And I'm sure there'll be sort of a crossover period at the moment, but yes, it's exciting to have such a well-established coach. I mean, he's obviously got an amazing record of results from the 200 metre squad in the UK, and actually previously to that in his other jobs. But yeah, it's exciting, and I think a great prospect for British canoeing moving forward to have that sort of uniformity across the squads.
So lining up now is the final of the men's C2 200 metres, and you're looking there at Spain's Anthony Segura and Alfonso Benavides, with the Brazilians in lane 4 alongside them, Erlon de Souza Silva and Ronilson Matias de Oliveira. Erlon de Souza Silva, world champion in C2 1000 with Ezequiel Quiros dos Santos. And alongside them in lane 3, that's Belarus, Dmitry Rabchenko and Giannis Machlai. Rabchenko, a silver medalist at the European Championships last year, paddling with Alexander Wojcicki. the Croatian pair of Marko Jelkic and Ivan Oreskovic. A bit of an unknown, this pair, I must admit, to me at least. Be interesting to see how they get on.
I think this is another really exciting event. The canoe paddlers use so much of their body and body weight to get on the blade and drive it down and forward, and doing it in a pair over this speedy 200.
I don't know how they quite get the rate, the number of strokes per minute that
the
they seem to
unity
manage
that
to
they
achieve.
need to achieve that, to keep the boat driving forward, is, as a spectator, it's amazing.
That's the Belarusian pair of Gleb Saladucha and Alexandra Wojcicki.
And talking about lunge finishes, but the canoe paddlers, both singles and doubles, will have an impressive lunge at the end, so hopefully
we could be about to see some lunging action at the finish here. They're out of the blocks. It's a very fast start from Ukraine in lane 7 in that blue boat, looking really strong, getting their stroke rate right up. Also looking really good is the Spanish pair out in lane 5. Segura and Benavides, just 100 metres left to go in this race. And it is Spain who are looking strong. Ukraine just don't quite have the depth of stroke as they start to slip back after that strong start. Spain in the lead still. Alongside them is Brazil, who are currently in second. And it looks like the Belarusians, and it's going to be Spain who take first. But I cannot differentiate
and
between
Brazil
Belarus and
bronze there.
Brazil for those silver and bronze medals. But we've just been speaking about the British 200-metre squad. What a squad Spain have over 200 metres in K1, K2, and in seaboat racing as well, and in Canadian racing.
And some fast women coming up through as well in their system. So yeah, they have obviously a solid setup.
It does kind of
think Belarus
look like
maybe
Belarus
got it
have
with a
taken
lunge.
that silver medal. But it might just be the angle we're looking at it. Absolutely.
But that's an
bursting
amazing
out of the
medal
blocks.
there for Brazil. It shows their depth in canoe athletes we saw.
And really interesting to see the difference in technique as well. They seem to keep their hips quite flat and high, whereas other crews sort of dip down a bit. I must say, I'm not an expert in seaboat paddling, but I found that really interesting.
Yeah, yes.
And a brilliant lunge finish by the Spanish pair of Anthony Segura and Alfonso Benavides, who take gold at this first World Cup of the season here in Duisburg. So 0.02 of a second separate it, but it is Belarus who are given the silver medal ahead of Brazil with the bronze, Kazakhstan in 4th, and absolutely fantastic racing. So a great gold medal for Spain. And just around the corner is the final of the women's K2 200 metres, just a few minutes away. And there we have the starting lineup for this last final of the session. Just 8 crews in this race. And a bit of a mixed bag, this one, I think.
Yeah, straight final for these girls, I think. So we don't know how they've fared in their heats and semi-finals, so could be up for a good surprise.
So that's Beatriz Gomes and Helena Rodrigues of Portugal out there in lane 1. Missed out on qualification earlier this week at the European Olympic qualifiers. Finished 6th in the KT 500s. Alongside them in lane 3 is Poland's Dominika Wlodarczyk and Anna Polawska. In lane 2, that's Singapore. Again, a bit of an unknown crew. And in lane 4 is China's Wenjun Ren and King Ma, both former under-23 world champions in K4 500 metres. Alyssa Bull and Elise Burnett in lane 5 from Australia, making their Olympic debuts in Rio. They won the Oceania Championships to secure their qualification. And then lane 7's Italy, Cristina Pretraccia and Sofia Campana. And that's in lane 8. Juliana Taran and Irina Lorik. You mentioned quite difficult to really pinpoint which athletes you think are going to be the ones to watch, because just what are your thoughts, Hannah?
Oh, I reckon it's a tough one, but maybe in the centre of the course, the Polish crew, I'm sure, will be very strong at the end, as well as the Portuguese. But it could be anyone's game. Again, the tight racing over 200, it's all about the start. I wouldn't rule out the Australian crew as well, very young, gaining experience here, and obviously winning the Oceania Championships earlier this year. To take that Olympic qualification, I think, is amazing. So it'll be exciting to see how they fare over the 200. It's that raw speed that you need at the beginning of the race that I think this racing over 200 will really help with 500 metre racing later on this year.
So we've still got that nice tailwind as they're in the buckets. Saw the Polish crew in lane 3 finish down in 8th in the final of the K2 500 just a few moments ago. They're out of the blocks, and a brilliant start by the Italians. Great start by the Australians in lane 5 as well. Very, very strong out of the blocks by the Italian crew, but still 4 boats really in it. Portuguese looking very strong in lane 1, as are the Polish in lane 3. And it looks like the Portuguese, who are absolutely powering away with it. They weren't too quick out the blocks, but they are pulling away with every stroke. This will be a fantastic race for them if they can cling on for the gold medal. Still looking very good is Wlodarczyk and Polowska of Poland. And at the moment, it does look like it's going to be gold for Portugal. It'll be silver for Poland, and Australia will take the bronze medal. And I must admit that after that start, it seemed to come from nowhere from those Portuguese pair.
They really accelerated well and took it all the way through. That middle part of their race, they carried on pulling away. It was impressive. And after disappointment in the Olympic qualifications, I think they'll be over the moon to come back and win that race.
Very, very happy with that. Beatriz Gomes and Helena Rodrigues there of Portugal taking the gold. They weren't the fastest out of the blocks by any means, but they just had such a consistent, strong, powerful stroke to come through.
But the young Polish crew did really well there as well, taking it all the way to the line.
Yeah, both of them just 20 years old. Anna Polowska, a former junior world champion in K2 500 and K4 500. And they did very well, really promising prospect for the future. And the Italians, who were first out of the blocks, didn't quite have enough to get themselves a medal at the end.
But an awesome result for the Australians as well, hanging on for 3rd.
Yeah, Alyssa Bell and Elise Burnett from Australia, bronze medalist at the under-23 World Championships last year. And seemingly doing really well in the power stakes as well over the shorter distance. We'll hopefully get those finalised results on our screens very soon. There you have it, the winning time in the women's K2 200 metres, 37.854, half a second behind Polowska and Wlodarczyk of Poland. And Burnett and Ball take bronze. China finished in 4th, Romania 5th, Italy 6th, Singapore 7th, and Turkey down in 8th place. It's an absolutely fantastic start to the finals here in Duisburg. We've seen some very, very close racing indeed, as well as that gold medal for Beatriz Gomes and Helena Rodrigues of Portugal. We also saw some fantastic performances in the men's K2 200, especially I think from Saul Craviotto and Christian Toro. And also in that men's K1 1000 metres, definitely one to watch this year. René Poulsen of Denmark with a very, very classy finish, a very classy all-round performance from him. For you, Hannah, what do you think has stood out for you in these finals that we've just been watching?
I think it's between the René Poulsen and Sebastian Vendel, just sort of still holding on to that form they had last year at last year's Worlds and coming out here and performing. And you know, they during the winter they would be the names in people's minds that they wanted to train and beat, but they've come here and stormed it again, so it's amazing.
Well, thank you very much to Great Britain 200 metre paddler Hannah Brown for joining me this afternoon. And we'll be back tomorrow with more finals at this ICF Canoe Sprint World Cup here in Duisburg.